Hey my beautiful and unique weirdos, welcome back to my channel and happy new year. I hope you guys had a great new year's. I stayed at home with my family in my pajamas and played games. It was great. It was the first new year's that me and my family got to spend together in a long time, so that was really nice. So we entered the new decade as a family, just playing games and having fun like we always do. On today's video, we're gonna be doing a story time about my first semester in grad school. Just keep watching. First semester at grad school, so I went to Cal State Long Beach, which is in Long Beach, California, and I had just graduated Spelman College, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. So the summer before I started grad school, I worked at Barnes & Noble's. That's a story for another day. My parents had got me a new car for graduation. It was great. I was so happy, but I needed to get my car all the way to California. So me and my dad went on a little road trip all the way to California. I was so excited to be in grad school. Like, I didn't really know a lot about it. I don't have parents that went to college. Like, I was a first generation college student. Both of my parents have degrees now though, which is amazing in itself. They both got their degrees later in life. But when I went to college, I was the first one to go straight out of high school and actually graduate. There were some aspects of my degree and stuff that I really didn't know a lot about. So I really didn't know a lot about what a physics graduate program was going to look like or entail at all. So I was kind of going in there blind. Like, I was excited, but I really didn't know what to expect. My mom was telling me all summer though, Leslie, just be prepared. I think it's going to be a lot of hard work. And boy, she was so right. She was so right. The way I got into grad school was through the American Physical Society Bridge program. It was the second year that this program had been initiated, and I got into the second round of schools that they admitted. Now let's go to orientation. So orientation was the first time I got to meet my fellow grad students that year. There was four of us all together. I almost missed somebody, oh man, but it was me, Zach, Gilbert, and Jonas, and man, I think they'll always have a special place in my heart. Like, they really helped a whole lot with that whole transition of grad school, because at least at the bare minimum, there was people that looked like me going through the same struggle that I was going through. And there's something about that. I don't know how to explain that to someone that doesn't understand. But when you're the only person in your program that looks like you and is from the same background that you are, you feel so isolated and alone. And luckily, I didn't have that. I had people that were coming from the same background. Granted, they were all boys. It would have been nice to have one girl, but you know, at least we were all in it together. We were all struggling together. We were all feeling the same things together, and that was very nice. One of the main things I was scared about before the semester even started though was about teaching. They had told me that I got a teaching assistantship. I had no idea what that meant, except for they said that I was gonna have to teach a class, and I was like, teach a class? Like, how am I supposed to teach a class? Like, I'm only 23. Like, how these kids gonna listen to me? I ain't never taught nobody before. Like, what you mean though? I remember me and Gilbert specifically kept asking questions about teaching. Like, when are we gonna get the syllabus? Are we gonna have to make our own syllabus? How does teaching work? Are we gonna get help? Like, we were really stressed out about it. Teaching ended up being one of the most low-key parts of grad school, even though I was so worried about it in the beginning. So now let's get on to the juicy part, my classes. Luckily, I was in a master's program and we only had to take 2 core classes each semester, which doesn't sound like a lot when you're coming from undergrad where you were taking 3, 4, 5, 6 classes all at the same time. You're like, 2 classes, this is gonna be cake. I immediately learned that that's not at all the case. Not like, woo, those 2 classes put me through it. Okay, let's talk about my first day of class. My first class was mathematical methods for physicists, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a class I need. You know, my math isn't the best, so like I could use some improving in this area, but it was required anyways. Even if I didn't want to take it, I still would have had to take it. but I was thinking, oh, this is gonna be useful for me in general. He started writing stuff on the board. When I tell you, I don't remember exactly what the first day of classes was, but I'm pretty sure we started with like imaginary numbers, something like that. I don't know, but he was writing symbols on the board, math terms, like he wrote like a mathematician, and I was so lost. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be in trouble. Like, I was just copying down what he was writing, but I didn't know what he was talking about, and I was so stressed. Like, I was already stressed. Day one of classes, stress was already like way up here. Like, I was stressed already. Did I say stressed enough times? But so then right after, we had our second class, which was classical mechanics. And of course, you guys know we took I didn't take a mathematics course in undergrad. I think that would have been very useful for me, but we didn't have that, or I didn't take it, one of the two. We all take classical mechanics as a physicist, so I was thinking, oh, okay, this class is going to be better, like I'm going to understand what's going on. And unfortunately for me, I have a really hard time understanding people's accents and understanding really bad handwriting. I don't know, it's because I can't really see that well, but I was sitting in the front and I still can't see that well. And our teacher was notorious for having like a very thick accent and also having very terrible handwriting. So when I got to classical mechanics, I didn't even know what he was saying, and I couldn't read what was on the board. I was so confused, and I was so sad. I immediately, after the first day, called my mom crying because I was already convinced that there's no way I was gonna make it through this semester. There's no way. There's no way I'm gonna be able to make it through these classes. One teacher seems like he's a good teacher, but I don't understand anything that he's doing. And the other teacher, I just don't understand him at all. So I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna fail out of grad school. The first semester is gonna be terrible. I'm gonna have to go back home and everyone's gonna be like, huh, you didn't make it in California. You couldn't cut it. Georgia girl couldn't cut it into California. And I'd be like, y'all just don't know how hard it was though. But my mom encouraged me. She was like, Leslie, calm down. You're overreacting. You're gonna be fine. This is what she said. You're gonna be fine. And I was like, I don't think so. She's like, just pray on it. It's gonna be okay, Leslie. Just take it one day at a time. You're looking too far ahead. All of that. Let's fast forward like a few weeks. I literally am pretty much failing everything. I'm failing the homeworks. Not so much in classical. I'm doing all right in classical because I can kind of look in the book. I can kind of look things up. But math methods, man, that homework had me out. I wasn't working with anybody. I was working by myself. I was working at home. I was doing everything wrong. And I was suffering. I didn't have any friends to talk to. I didn't have anybody that felt like understood what I was going through. Everybody had a front in class. Like, everybody knew what was going on. Like, I thought I was the only one who was this lost and who didn't understand anything. And I felt too ashamed to ask people in fear of looking like the dumb one, because I didn't want people to know that I was so lost. I was like, they're gonna think I'm dumb. I don't want them to think I'm dumb. I didn't want my teachers to think I was dumb, because I felt like this stuff was basic to everybody else and I was just the only one that didn't understand. Trust me, that's not the way to go about it. Like, it's not. You're not gonna look dumb for asking questions, because most of the time there's another person in the room that has that same question but has that exact same fear that you have. And that's what I found out about halfway through the semester. The homework used to take me hours to do. I would be up all night in the books, in the internet, just anything, trying to find any resource to help me, except for asking the people that were right in front of me. And that was one of my biggest mistakes. But about halfway through the semester, I don't know if it was just out of sheer exhaustion and just needing to get out of my room, I started going to what we call the TA office. It was a closet. We had no windows in there. But when I started going in there, I realized a lot of the people in my program were working together on the homework. they were just as lost as I was. And I realized, oh, this is what you should have been doing from the beginning. You should have been with your fellow classmates struggling together. So from then on, I started to improve in my classes and on my homeworks especially, because I would ask questions. I would work with my fellow peers. We would be on the whiteboard trying different solutions out until we felt like we had the right one. It was just very helpful. So if I can give you a tip, don't be afraid to form that study group with your class. Like, by the time I went to UCF, man, we was on it. We study groups from day one. I was bonding with people from day one. I was working with people from day one. That's what you want to do, and that's what you need to do, and that's what you kind of have to do to survive grad school, unless you're just, I'm not even gonna say that. Even if you're the exceptionally brilliant genius physicist, I think working together will still help you in ways. It won't take as long. You'll be able to bounce those ideas off of each other, because physics is all about problem solving and thinking logically, and sometimes you need other perspectives. Like, you might have not seen that math formula that you needed. Man, I don't know how many times I was stuck on a problem because I just didn't know a trig identity, or I didn't know the law of cosines, or I didn't know angle approximation of sine or something. Something really basic was holding me up for like 30 minutes. But if I was with someone, they would have seen it and they might have been like, oh, you know, oh, you just got to use the law of cosines and you can find this. And I'd be like, you right. You right. Saves time, man. And then sometimes you're going to be that person for someone else. Like, I remember later I was like, yo, got to use that law of cosines, man. But I was still struggling. Don't get me wrong. My grades improved. I was doing a lot better, especially on the homeworks, a lot better. But I came from a testing environment where they gave us pretty much as much time as we needed to finish the exams. So these 1 hour and 15-minute exams were kicking my ass, like, no lie. Like, I was just not finishing. I didn't know how to do it. Like, it's not that I wasn't doing the exams properly. Like, I would go through and what I did would be correct, but I just wasn't doing enough. I should have been going through and writing something on everything, showing them that I know the steps at least. But it took me all the way until like end of October before I even went to my lecturer professors to ask them for advice. That's also really bad. As soon as you're struggling, as soon as you realize you need help, you need to meet with your classmates, but you definitely need to meet with the person teaching the class. They can help you. They can give you books. They can give you examples. They can teach you what you need to do, tell you what you need to do in order to do better in that class. They know that you're trying. If you're not going to them, then they have no idea. You know, you're just a number to them. You're just a face in the class. But if you actually go to their office hours, explain what you've been trying, show them what you've done, explain your situation to them, they're much more understanding than you would think. I used to think, you know, there's a whole bunch of physicists, they don't care about my emotions and my feelings or my past or anything like that. But they do, like some of them, not all of them. But if you have a good teacher, one that really wants you to learn, they're gonna care about your situation. They're gonna understand where you're coming from. I was missing a lot of math knowledge, so I had to go back, teach myself some things in order to understand what was even happening in the class. And he was able to give me those resources to help me do that. The other professor in classical, a lot of it, I had to realize how he was thinking. He would talk about there's always a hard and easy way to do a problem. So he would give a problem set up in a hard way that would take maybe 30 minutes to do it if you did it the long way. But if you were thinking creatively or outside of the box, you could change something. You could rotate the object. You could do something that would make the problem so much easier, so much simpler, and it would take like 10 minutes. But I wasn't thinking like that. I was just, you know, see the problem, do it the way you know, do it the way you did it in the homework. But no, I had to start thinking outside of the box and thinking more creatively. And none of that would have happened if I didn't go to my professors. So what I tell people all the time is form study groups from the very beginning and go to your professors as soon as you have problems. Maybe even if you don't have problems, just go. Professors like that, they like to see that you're engaged, that you're really trying to succeed in their course. That's a lot of rambling. But I hope you guys can kind of like feel where I'm coming from. Like, I was really, really anxious and stressed. I don't know if I slept properly at all that first semester in grad school. I was in a new place, a new environment, in hard classes, teaching classes also. I was just, man, it was a lot. It was a lot for me. Let me just put this in perspective for you, like my grades. Like, one of my grades was so bad that I literally got a 7 out of 40, and that was on an exam. Do you know what a 7 out of 40 is? It's a big fat F, like a big F, like a real F. Like, I just felt like I was gonna get kicked out. Like, I just felt like I was gonna get kicked out of grad school. Which is very possible, because in one of my previous videos I told you, like, you only have to get 2 C's to get kicked out, and I was like, I'm about to get these 2 C's right now. They about to kick me out from the beginning. I'm not even gonna make it. Like, but at the end of the day, I ended up getting a C in classical mechanics. 1 C already. But then in my mathematical physics class, I was right on the borderline. I think I was like, I don't know, to put it in perspective of regular grades, I had like a 79. I was like 1 point away from a B. That teacher in particular had this thing that if you were on the borderline of a grade, that you could do extra work to bump your grade up to that letter grade. So he ended up giving me an incomplete in that class, allowing me to do work to bring up that grade. It ended up being that I ended up just taking that class all the way over again. Long story short is that when I retook the class, I ended up getting an A. So why am I telling you guys this story? So the main reason is to show you that I did not start out as a perfect student at all. I started out in the worst ways possible. Like, I completely changed locations. I didn't have my support group. I didn't have my family nearby. I didn't have my friends nearby. I didn't take the proper steps. I didn't do so many things right that first semester because I had no idea what I was doing. I was going in there blind, and I don't really want anybody else to go in there as blind as I did. Even if you do go in there blind, to not give up. Like, to just keep trying until you can't try no more. Like, make them kick you out. Don't kick yourself out. Don't give up. I worked so hard and still felt like I failed. I really did. I felt like a failure. But I didn't let that stop me. I kept submitting work, even though it was bad. I was like, you know what? You're here now. You're not gonna give up. And through that, I found so many friends. And without those guys, like, I don't know if I'd be here. I mean, without my professors also, for being so kind, for understanding, for having a heart. I just want to tell you guys, no matter what you're going through, no matter what your struggle is, if it's not grad school, I'm sure it's something, just keep pushing on. Look for resources. Asking for help was one of the main reasons I stayed in grad school. Your dreams are worth it. They're not easy. I think that this was from TD Jakes, but I'm sure a lot of people have said it. He said, if your dream doesn't make you cry, is it really a dream? And I was like, you right, you smart. I hope you like that story. I hope it inspires you, like, not to give up on your dreams. But anyways, enough rambling from me. If you want, you can write some of your first grad school experiences down below, or any type of experience where you had a struggle and fight to get through. I would love to read them. Hit the thumbs up button if you like this kind of video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. Why not? I make content like this about grad school and about just my life in general. That's it for me. I'll see you beautiful and unique weirdos on the next one. Deuces.